So weather-wise, I'm gonna do it like another. So for instance, it's gonna be like it's gonna have a door on it. Like this is gonna flap, but I'm gonna get a better piece to close it. But this stuff is for outdoors, you know. This is gonna get another coat of paint, and then I'm going to, actually I can do that now. Yeah, no, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna get another coat of paint. I'm gonna get another coat of paint, gonna touch up, it's gonna look real good. This is gonna put another door on here. I might put another brace on here, but this is like, this actually makes it so much stronger, oh, yeah, I believe you know? And it adds a nice design aesthetic too. For instance, like it touches a lot of hands. We're not doing this all by ourselves. We're working collectively together with organizations. There's volunteerism, there's workforce development involved in it. There's so much that goes into the process. I didn't have all the answers when I first started doing it, but it's just more of like, let's just start doing it and learn how we build out this model. And to answer your question about where do I see Sit On Detroit in 5 years? Well, I see this as a sustainable practice across major cities, small and, major and small cities, across the United States, across the country, across the, global, really. It's no limitation. Like, we're not putting any limitations on it. And so by not putting any limitations on it, it's almost like it's somewhat kind of open source to how we can go about doing a lot of this stuff. What's going on, everybody? My name's Kyle Bartell. I am the co-founder of Sit On It Detroit. We've been around for 9 years, and you're actually at my workshop today here on the northwest side of Detroit. And I'm going to be walking through how we build a lot of our benches, how we scaled up in our design, as well as some of the different Mach 1s and Mach 2s of the different style benches that we have, and showing you firsthand how we put this library together. So as you guys know, or if you don't know, a lot of our benches are incorporated with free lending libraries, but also we take it upon ourselves to repurpose as much lumber as possible. So rather than wood go into a landfill unnecessarily, we repurpose it, we reprocess it and give it a second life for you to sit at either a bus stop, utilize it and enjoy yourself at a park, or you can rent them for a private event. We have furniture of all shapes and sizes. They're all handmade, handcrafted, and custom to what the need might be in the community. So we'll be showing you guys how we put a lot of this together, and I'm excited to have you guys here and share a lot of our work.
Pick it up, or do they deliver it?
If I see this on the curve, I'm putting it in my truck. Or I talk to whoever's doing the demo work, and what I end up doing is I upcycle. I bring it to the shop, and I'll use it for whatever I need it for. But yeah, I'll deconstruct it, pull all the nails out. That's something that's somewhat of a labor-intensive part about what we do, but you're saving money by repurposing this stuff, and it's better for the environment. But yeah, the process is just more of, there's like heavy renovations going. There's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of this stuff, I hate to see it go into a dumpster. So when I get in contact with the property owners, or sometimes I'm saving them a lot of money because those dumpster cans are not cheap. So the less stuff that they can put in there, particularly wood, I would more than likely, or we can arrange something. Like if they got like a truck or something, they can drop it off here. We take that lumber and we reprocess it and use it at a later date for whatever we may need it for. So, but yeah, and like I said, we've been doing this for a couple years now, 9 years, before, the price of wood skyrocketed. We're sitting on gold in here, right? It's the new gold. Oh no, I'm still gonna work.
Okay.
The work doesn't stop, it just gets a little loud. That's the main. So you said the brief history of what we've been doing? So myself and my buddy Charles, we both were Wayne State students, studying, urban studies. And urban planning was kind of our focus. But it was also a core group of our friends where we started an organization called General Improvement, where we were essentially doing the things like fixing vacant parks and activating public spaces through the permission of property owners. When Detroit, was kind of going through its own set of struggles, we realized how people still needed places to recreate, places to enjoy outside, and so the core principles of it were just to do a collection of different projects that revolved around community-based development and utilizing public space. So I would say that was more the ethos of it all. And Sit on Detroit was just one of the projects that we were doing. So Sit on Detroit was one. I led up a project called Pathways to Parks, where I would identify vacant lots that had social trails, also known as desired paths, where if you cut across a lot, naturally the landscape is going to show you like this is where people are walking. Usually in the diag is like the quickest way to cut across a lot. So what I did was I would identify them and define them by turning those now desired paths and social trails, and define those trails, and ended up making like a brick paved trail for one of them, or use like different types of material, but just kind of introducing myself to some landscape architecture. And also it's kind of a blend of somewhat of like tactical urbanism. But it was cool to get tapped in with different organizations like the Detroit Design Festival to get funding for, getting the materials and having people help out and volunteer. So a lot of the start came from a collection of us being able to work together on a lot of projects that we thought were necessary for the city of Detroit. And it's cool to see that the trend is now upticking when it comes to how people are not only using public space, but making it that's what these grants are going for now. It's like they want to activate these lots, or they want to put in a public garden, install a flower bed and things like that. So but yeah, the origin of it all was centered around a group of friends who all went to Wayne State, and we were just excited about our city, and was just looking at ways in which we can all get involved in more than one way. And so that's essentially how we kind of got our start and our footing when it came to really push and sit on it, because that was just a project that a lot of people, it went viral. It was like one of the #1 streaming, like it was upvoted on Reddit. It was, articles, USA Today, Huffington Post, New York Times. They were all there was some controversy behind it, because I think there was initially some pushback saying that, we can't be doing what we're doing. And I think we decided to say, screw that, we're gonna do it anyway. We're not gonna ask permission. We're just gonna go ahead and do it, because we saw that there was a need. And when we see that there's a need, if you see that people are, and sometimes you'll see it still, you'll see people like driving around, you'll see at bus stops, you'll see trash cans turned over, you'll see grocery carts, grocery baskets at bus stops turned over sideways, and people sitting on them, making a seat. If that doesn't tell you something, or you'll see people with crates at bus stops, sitting on crates waiting for the bus. If that doesn't tell you something, that there's a lack of, some basic things that are needed, we just decided to step up to the plate and, provide a service that was lacking at one point in time. But what I can say is things have gotten better, and we've been able to work with the city in a capacity where, a lot of people understand what it is that we're doing, and, they applaud us, and they're grateful. They're grateful at the end of the day. My background's in urban planning and urban studies. So a lot of what I was doing was oriented around the use of public space and particularly underutilized places. So for me, the passion was through, my studies from school, and then being privileged to travel and go to other places, visit other countries. I saw how much emphasis they put on just beauty and architecture and design. And Detroit has a strong background in that. And I just want to contribute in my creative way, in my lens in doing so. And so when it comes to making creative public furniture, it's kind of like my art, at the end of the day. And just seeing how it resonated with so many people in the city of Detroit, not just here, but across the country. So like in New York, San Francisco, Toronto, it resonated really well with a lot of people, and they really enjoyed, just the fact that we were doing something like this. So that's something that I never take for granted. And that opportunity that we've always had. When it comes to we get a lot of questions like, how do you guys support yourself? How do you stay funded? How do you, how do you make money? And over the years, I realized that there have been multiple sources of ways to generate revenue for the work that we do. Because when we started out, it was a community project that was funded by the community through Detroit Soup, through initiatives and grants and things like that. But also to kind of, like I was mentioning earlier, we want to sustain. You got to find other ways to be able to do that. And so taking on privately commissioned work, a lot of times we would, build things for clients, tables, chairs, things like that. And a lot of, projects like that allowed us to hone our skills even more. And, looking at another way to generate some revenue. And then also another thing that kind of happened somewhat by chance, but just through being tapped in with so many different organizations and like an idea of what we do, we started renting our furniture out. And so, for instance, back in 2015 or 2016, I remember we had gotten a representative, a young lady who was working for Movement at the time, reached out to us and wanted to rent all of our benches for the VIP section at Movement. And not even thinking that was something that we would end up doing, but we ended up doing that, like renting out all the benches that we had in our shop, everything that we had built. And I think we probably made it's about $5,000. That was about and that's where something like another just like that kind of clicked, where it's like, okay, so we can do this too. So it's like, we can rent out our furniture, we can provide like amenities, and we can provide these outdoor amenities for certain, private companies, corporations, that then is going to turn in. We can use those funds to help keep growing the organization. And so, yeah, it was just cool to just like, put all this together and, not have all the answers at first, but finding new ways and strategies to bring a sustainable project forward in more than one way, Okay. So I'm thinking with this library, I want to do something kind of funky with it. Carhartt, you know, they were very supportive, and well, a couple years ago they reached out to us asking, hey, like, we're working with a lot of small businesses. We want to know how we can help and support you guys. And you know, we brainstormed the ideas of like doing workshops and things like that, and sponsoring a bench and whatnot. But we wanted to do something a little different and more creative. And so what we ended up doing was we did a collaboration tee. So this was like an exclusive, limited edition Carhartt collaboration that we did with them. And we raised money by selling the shirts through folks who follow us, but also like people who work within their organization. And it was cool because, yeah, like when we did like a little ice cream social, and folks who contributed bought a shirt. They like got some ice cream. They heard about Sit On in Detroit, and then they had the opportunity to work with us and get a firsthand look at how we do this project, but also support by, you know, purchasing a shirt. And it was also in their store too, so like that was pretty cool. And we actually have a bench in there right now at the downtown location, which is pretty nice. But yeah, and still just looking to, you know, foster relationships with organizations who, you know, the work that they do aligns so much with the things that we're doing, and we often rent a lot of tools from them for big projects and workshops. And so that's kind of another reason why strategic partnerships are really important when it comes to, you know, growing your project. We want to limit how often we have to maintain them. That's why we want to build them as sound as possible when we first do it, and take our time when we do it. We're not in any rush to, it's not a race to build a bench. A lot of times it can get a little competitive where people are they feel confident in themselves. They've built one or two and then they're sprinting. That's what we call in building. But we also want to make sure we're building things efficiently so that they can also work optimally as possible. And so, so our thing with the maintenance would now with this new Mach 2 of the bench, it would just be probably providing another coat of paint after a year or two, you know, and or if there's any worst case scenario, any of the screws, you know, don't last, like assess like if there's a piece that pops out or gets misplaced, like assess how it was, you know, if the screw went all the way in, but just being able to assess the problem, not just like, let's just immediately fix it, but just using it as a way to gauge the longevity of it. And so, but with that, yeah, like the maintenance is definitely part of anything that you do. You don't want to just leave it out there and forget it. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, I reach out to those who may have sponsored a bench or in a certain neighborhood or area, you know, your responsibility, just give us a call if anything does happen. We also want to educate people on how to make certain repairs or just like take a picture of it so we know, let's say we just, instead of replacing, we can do one or two things. Sometimes we can swap out the bench, bring it back in for the repairs that it needs. Or if let's say you send us a picture of what it looks like, we'll know what cuts to make here. We can go to the shop and we can make the repair on site. So that's kind of like a new strategy that we've been putting out there to better implement our maintenance program. And yeah, and it makes it like it makes it easier for everybody too. And they last longer that way. But yeah, a lot of it starts with being able to you want to build it right so that you want to build it right in its inception, you know. So that's one of the things I think it's always really important, and you save yourself less time. So the more I make sure that it's tight, it's solid, it's not going to go anywhere. That saves me a trip having to go back and like go out and replace something, which that's the nature of the game. Quality. As you look at the front of these, you see none of the screws are exposed, or you can't see them visually. Everything is on the back end of it. If you look at the anatomy of it on the inside, right here is where they're getting screwed in at, right? And compared to the ones over here, the older versions, you can see that we would go in on top, drilling the screws in. Now it'll hold, but over time, what I learned and figured out was that water can get into that. And the more that the screw is exposed, it'll womanate, it'll cause this to rot. And so pulling this out over time would just, it'll be more repair. And also, certain parts aren't treated. So this Mach 2 of the bench is a little bit lighter, but also the integrity of the bench is going to last a lot longer because we're allowing it to, again, we're not allowing water to penetrate the wood. And if any water gets to it, it's going to be touching pressure treated, which is meant for contact with water. Just like if you're building in a basement, doing any type of remodeling, you're going to use pressure treated lumber. So anything that comes in contact with the ground. It wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't say it was the city, but it's more of the bus, like DDOT is their own entity. So a lot of the poles out there, you have to keep in mind, like that's their property. And there are guidelines to how you can implement a bench, or, you have to be considerate of like the public right away. You're not blocking like anyone's access to be able to walk across the sidewalk. And just understanding that process. And so, that same year we had gotten started, we ended up having a meeting with Detroit Building and Safety just to kind of go over the parameters of, what will it take to do our project. And, it was very helpful. It was very helpful. And we got a better understanding of how that worked and for instance, which bus stops would be ideal for us to place a bench, And so, and then, we've been able to work with some council members who actually came out and volunteered with us to build benches, and that was pretty cool. And it was just like overall, I think it was something that wasn't expected, but the response that we got from people who liked what it is we were doing and wanted to participate was clarification that we're on the right track. We're definitely on the right track. And so, we're still doing it. And like I said, not just at bus stops, but public spaces, parks, and things like that. Just as far as providing outdoor amenities for restaurants, bars, places that wanted to provide for their patrons who didn't feel comfortable eating inside. And us being an organization that has, we've been so accustomed to providing those kind of services, it was kind of a no-brainer. Let's see. Let me go, what color? It was, let me define it. It was a bit of a no-brainer when we were given the opportunity to make planter boxes to create like an outdoor barricade for a storefront. And just being able to provide some design aesthetic to it. So when we think about what life is going to be like now, given the pandemic, we can also look at ways in which it also allowed us to view things a lot differently, prioritize public space, and prioritize things like outdoor environments for people who who want to just go to a park or go to a restaurant and dine outdoors. That's something that with a lot of the work that they're doing in the city when it comes to that type of stuff. I think even the mayor's on board with just prioritizing public space and creating those amenities for people. That's definitely something that the direction I see us heading, but also for the city. Like, of course we need this, you know, for people's own, for their mental health, physical, being outdoors and having a place to recreate. Man, that's important. It's important. Okay, so let's see right here. Point, I think, you know, the neighborhoods are starting to see an uptick in investment. And how that gets viewed from, you know, how the neighborhood wants to be a part of it, and providing, you know, the neighborhoods with, you know, amenities such as this. And not just being us providing benches for the bus stops and things like that. I think we often got that association because we took on a task that a lot of people undermined it at one point in time. But then, but realizing that in other areas of people's lives outside of public transit, there's also people who need things in their homes, you know, rather it be a desk or rather it be a shelf or little amenities, like if they're just, you know, finally find a place to stay, have a new home or a place to rent or something like that. You know, like a lot of these amenities are, you know, furniture costs money, right? And we're just trying to come with that DIY approach. Since we've done it with benches, we can do it with other things too. So I think that's essentially where our project is oriented, in making things for not just people, but places as well. So like picnic tables, outdoor amenities like that. And also keeping, you know, the design aspect very prevalent with it, I think is really important. So let me see, I'm gonna go with 2. I think we motivated people to want to try different things. Like, I think we motivated a lot of people when it came to, for instance, the questions that we got from people wanting to start their own project or something in their neighborhood or something around the buses and the bus systems, and ask them, hey, how did you guys do it? Or what are you guys doing? Or, you know, what's the best approach? And coming to us for advice for that. And I wouldn't say that our project was weighing in the sense of like no one cares anymore, because what I found out is that, you know, like our goal isn't to be trending and on like being on every social media platform doing high volume numbers. We want our work to be seen in the community. We want our work to be, you know, shared, and we also want that to be participatory in the same aspect. So we're still providing people opportunity to work with us, and for instance, been able to do workshops. So we did a workshop earlier this year with Greektown Casino and their staff. I just did another workshop at a school in Southwest Detroit, and I'm about to wrap up. I'm about to do another project with Marathon Petroleum on doing some more benches out in Southwest. And what's cool is that a lot of times, you know, I get either a phone call or an email where folks are saying, hey, your organization got brought up in a meeting. Does this sit on in Detroit? It's like, yeah, I'm actually like the co-founder. What's going on? How can we help? It's like, yeah, well, like, that's great that you got, like, you guys are still doing this, right? And I'm like, yep, we're actually still doing it. Just let us know what you need and things like that. And then we kind of work out a relationship on how we can work together. So it's cool that, again, like, we're still getting the calls. We're still getting people asking questions. We're not posting every single thing that we're doing on social media, but what we're doing is we're letting the work speak for itself by providing people with just access to how things can get done or how things can get built. And so, yeah, so that's one of the that's one of the things that keeps me motivated and allows me to continue to do what it is that I'm doing, and knowing that like the project still has ample amount of potential to grow still. We did the work physically, we held the workshops, we got people involved. Now I need to transfer that information to paper. I need to write that in the form of a grant. I need to spell that out in the structures of my operation, which was something that I was lacking. I wouldn't say I was lacking. I was too focused on acting out what it is I wanted to do. And that's also a good thing. Now I have time to pull it all together now. And now I have time to share that with people in a way that not only do they know what I'm talking about, they've seen it. It's like I'm doing a dissertation on the project that I've done years ago. Man, these are like brand new with this. If there's any things or creative endeavors that we can help, collaborate and work on together with whomever, consider us a resource. And that's something that we take a lot of pride in. And just as much as, we've had a lot of help along the way, we don't mind giving back and helping out with other projects that you guys are steering up. Just let us know how we can, be of resource. And yeah, the stuff like this is fun at the end of the day, So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you ever want to contribute to Sit On It Detroit, physically or monetarily, there's ample levels on how you can do it if you go to our website. But we'll also be dropping a link in the QR code and the QR code on where you can do that. There's no limit to your support. If you're an organization, company, corporation, you guys want to bring your team out to come and do some workshops with us, you can build. You can also sponsor benches that go out into the city, as well as if you're a small organization, want to do a community cleanup and maybe you want to put some benches in the park that you just made. We're accessible in a variety of ways, and we want to provide as many resources that we can to you guys and the public. So I hope that's informative and you guys really take heed to what it is that we're doing and the importance of our project. Again, this project wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the people, the good people of Detroit, who've seen the vision of this 9 years ago. And we're just keeping our promise to keep providing these amenities in the city of Detroit in a way that hasn't been seen before anywhere else. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to consider us, and yeah, let's build some benches in your neighborhood.